I mean, I think at this point, all of America is telling Paige, stop. It's too soon. Don't do it. Reconsider. Read some literature on the subject. You sure? F it. Welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. My name is Paige. If you are new here, I hope you enjoy what you see. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know the next time I post another live video. And just like it, give your comments and thoughts, and join in the family. If you are one of my day one supporters, thank you so much. Your support is definitely appreciated. And I hope that we all continue in our respective journeys in health, wellness, and overall betterment of life. Today, though, we are getting into the review of episode 10 from Married at First Sight. Y'all, this season, every episode, at this point, am eating my popcorn and enjoying the circus. Because I refuse to let these people raise my blood pressure. I refuse. I'm going to take it as the reality TV entertainment that apparently it is meant to be. This episode is titled 3 Weeks of Charm. We see that the couples are all moving into their third week of officially being married. Some are doing well, some are not. So let's get into it. First, we start off with Virginia and Erik. As we've seen in the past few episodes, Virginia is more of the party girl. She's still kind of stuck in college sorority life. Erik is older. He's about 8 years older than her, and he's much more conservative. He's a former military man. He currently works as an airline pilot. And this has made for a very interesting match. So they start off talking about sharing passwords with each other. Virginia is fine with him having her passwords, and also Erik is, he's more than willing to give up his passwords. However, when talking about sharing the passwords, they start getting into this discussion of what you might see in the other's phone. And Virginia admits that, Erik might see her texting guys. And if he's okay with that, we know that Erik is traditionally not okay with his female partner having a bunch of guy friends. He does not believe that men and women can be friends. He thinks there's ultimately some type of attraction there, and someone's going to act on it sooner or later. So he says he's fine with her texting the friends that he's already met, which are about 2, but that he may not be fine with others that he doesn't know. I think that might be okay or a normal initial response to have. But people will have friends or family or somebody, a cousin somewhere down the line that you may not have been introduced to. So So for me, it's all about the context of the messages. And if she's willing to openly share her password, I don't think she would be hiding much there. I think Erik is just a little insecure. He goes on to show his insecurity when Virginia says, okay, well, what about social media? You know, I have guy friends. I like their pictures from time to time. And so Erik is like, well, again, it depends on the type of friend. Did you all have a sexual relationship in the past? If so, I'm not going to feel comfortable with you liking their pictures. And Virginia's like, I mean, it's just a like. Like, that's what you do on social media. You like pictures. One, I think this definitely speaks to their age gap. But two, it also speaks to Erik's insecurities. So he kind of gets a little heated, and he's like, well, no, then maybe you shouldn't be friends with those people on social media. If you've been in a sexual relationship with them prior, you should not be their friend. I'm gonna actually side with Virginia on this one, and it's simply personal because I have ex-boyfriends that I'm still, you know, friends or friendly with on social media. If he posts a picture of his kids or something like that, I'm going to like the picture. He posts a picture of his mom and dad, I'm going to like the picture. Like, those people are still almost my family. They've done nothing wrong to me. But I think that's a conversation that Virginia has to have with Erik. You are in charge of your relationships. You're also in charge of assuaging your partner's fears where those relationships are concerned. So yes, she's married. Some things will have to change. You can't be secretly messaging your ex or DMing your ex. However, I feel a simple like is not going too far. We'll, you know, see where this goes. They admit that they avoid hard conversations. And honestly, it's still super early, but because how this experiment is set up, and you have to make a decision in about a little over 4 weeks, you kind of need to start having those types of conversations, because these are the types of things that will rear its ugly head further on into the marriage. So they got to put on their big boy and big girl underwear and start addressing these things head on and getting to some level of resolve, not bickering over it and just letting it linger. You have to state what you will and won't do, and the other person either has to adjust, or that's something that might be a consideration when you make your final decision. Next, we see Brianna and Vincent meeting up with Viviana. Is it me? It seems like this season we're seeing the experts come in really late. And a lot of these couples needed to see the experts like week 1. They should have flew the experts to Las Vegas for the honeymoon, because these marriages have been in need of some serious guidance. Viviana asks how they're doing in their marriage, and Vincent says that they're doing well. They're very much alike. They're silly. They complement each other very well. Viviana said that she heard a little differently when it comes to playing around. Sometimes the playing around goes wrong. And we have seen that with the whole Champagne Vinny situation and last episode at the dance class. Brianna goes through the Champagne Vinny moment, explaining her point of view and how she thought she was just, making a joke because he wasted the champagne. She thought nothing of it, but Vincent took great offense to it. Viviana advises Vincent that he has to be better at communicating in the moment. That's how things get lost in translation when you just let it pass, but internally you feel some type of way and it's building up. So she says that he needs to stop Brianna in the moment and say, hey, what did you mean by that? In that way, Brianna can tell him then, oh, that was a joke, or they can explore deeper what this meant to him, why it's offensive to him, and Brianna can then know how to start, curtailing her actions to kind of know what's funny, what's not. And Vincent also has to just lighten up a little bit. Vincent then goes on to defend himself a little. He says he's not delicate. He's not a 7-year-old. Okay, all right. I think we might disagree a little, Vincent. But that he does want to impress his wife. But he's willing to have conversations when something rubs him the wrong way. Viviana talks about vulnerability and intimacy and how these things are key components to a healthy marriage. She breaks down Vincent really good about him and his ego and him trying to impress Brianna and be smooth, and when life gets in the way and the things don't play out the way he wants them to, he's unable to move past it for whatever reason. Vincent agrees. Brianna agrees as well. They both have come to that conclusion. Vincent apologizes to Brianna for his actions, for how he has, snapped off in his attitude before. And Brianna does the best thing ever. She affirms him. She tells him, like, you are enough for me. All of you, your quirks, your silliness, when you make mistakes, when you mess up, I love all of it, and I want to see all of it. Words of affirmation clearly are very important for Vincent, and I think Brianna has read that into her husband already. So I'm glad that they are being open and that they are being perceptive to each other's love languages. Like, this is setting up a really great foundation, in my opinion. But she gives him the confidence and the permission to not have to try so hard all of the time to be perfect. She doesn't want perfection. No one does. Because honestly, that's something you can't keep up. And that's the great thing about being married, being intimate with someone. You get to see all of them, their whole selves, not just their representative. And I'm glad that they're having this discussion early on. I think this will help them move along much quicker and have ultimately a happier relationship. Next, we see Paige and Chris. At this point, I don't even know why we're seeing Paige and Chris, but here we go. Paige talks about how the last time she and Chris talked on the last episode, they made an agreement to restore their relationship and to at least work on a new beginning and being cordial. But she tells the camera that she has not talked to him since that conversation. She has called him a few times and her calls have been going to voicemail. I don't know how many. I mean, at this point, it's not even a red flag. Like, we have red flags. We have sirens. I have no words. Anyway, next, Chris knocks on the door right on time. Gives Paige a good old church hug, honey. And she smiles like a giddy schoolgirl, a teenager that has never been kissed before. They proceed with the compliments, telling each other that they look nice. And then his rude self gets on the phone, as usual. I don't know how many more ways he can tell her that he's not into her. He says it verbally. He says it mentally and emotionally. His body language is all the way off. And he ignores her. He proceeds to play on his telephone like a kid while they wait for Dr. Viviana to get there. Viviana comes in and says that she is there to provide help and hope. Yes. Hope. Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't know what we're hoping for at this point, but okay. She says that she doesn't know Chris. Like, Chris, who are you? This is not the man that we met during casting, during your interview process. That's not the man that they matched. And honestly, I have to disagree. I don't know what they saw outside of the edited versions that we ended up seeing for the casting special, but it was very evident that Chris was who he is. He was clearly shallow and superficial. He talked about God, but then said things like he's looking for a wife that's a submissive freak. I don't really know Christian men who go directly towards that in the first thing that they're looking for in a wife. Then he constantly talked about material things, his clothes, his shoes, cars. Yeah, he was shallow as a kiddie pool. And he still is. All he kept talking about was how disappointed he would be if he wasn't attracted to his wife. And we are just now watching that play out. He wasn't attracted to his wife, and he has been in full-on tantrum mode ever since. Chris says, BM. BM. He tries to throw religion in there all the time. Yeah, you just sprinkle in left here, sprinkle in left. Before marriage, Chris was Chris since 1992. Before he was, since he was born, he was his original self. But AM Chris, after marriage Chris, has been in a complete depressed state because of the wedding and filming. Then finding out that his ex-fiancée was pregnant. I don't see how Paige sits here and listens to this. She clearly already has low self-esteem and self-worth issues. This is only going to drive her deeper into that abyss. Listening to a man say that after he married you, as soon as he married you, he fell into a completely depressive state to the extent that he was no longer himself. Now, I'm not saying that's Paige's fault. It's not her fault at all. This is all Chris. However, it is her fault that she continues to subject herself to this type of emotional and mental trauma and manipulation. Like, this dude is playing her like a fiddle at this point and not even really trying to hide it. He is being very vocal. And she is choosing not to hear it for some reason. It's driving me crazy, y'all. Anyway, Viviana asks how Paige has been feeling, and Paige says that she's devastated. She wanted a family coming into this process, and now she is in second place again. Viviana asks what everybody is asking. Why did you stay in the marriage? Paige goes on to talk about the woman of God that she is and how that woman of God was intended to be a supportive wife in spite of everything. Y'all gotta tell me what church Paige goes to so I know never to end up there. And if y'all are watching this and y'all go to Paige's church, please leave. This is not of God. This is not what God directs you to do. This is not what Proverbs 31 tells you to do. You are not supposed to be supportive in spite of everything. Everything. You're not. You're not. Abuse and sexual infidelity are two of the reasons where you are authorized to get a divorce. Paige is experiencing a little bit all of that because Jesus himself would have to come tell me that Chris is not being sexually active with some other woman outside of Paige, particularly since he won't even respect his wife enough to move into the apartment that the show put together for them to live in as a married couple. Like, make it make sense. Anyway, she wants to support Chris in any way he allows her to. So she's giving away more of her power, even in this moment. She wants to support him at all costs, in any way he will allow. She just want to be down, y'all. It's like Brandy. I want to be down. I can't even sing it because that's one of my favorite songs. And it's making me look at the song in a different way. Don't be this desperate, y'all. Please, do not. Viviana then goes on to ask Paige what she wants. And I mean, at this point, the jokes just write themselves. Paige says that she is simple and basic. Paige, you just painted yourself so narrowly, honey. Your self-worth and self-value are negative 100 right now. Like, if dictionary.com had pictures for words, we could go back in Webster's and put some pictures, your face would be next to basic. Yep. And you did it to yourself. You called it yourself. You are simple and basic, and you would be fine. Paige says she would be fine with Chris just calling her once a day. Just a call or a FaceTime. Some type of connection. And then when asked about the frequency, she says, once a day would be fine to start out with. Girl, I don't think the ball could go any lower. I don't think the bar could go any lower. If we were doing limbo, you started off at the bottom rung. You didn't even, in any negotiation, just a little tip. You start off high. The other person is going to come in kind of low. So then you meet in the middle. If this is what you really want, you start off that low. And like clockwork, Viviana asks Chris what he wants with Paige. Now, if he was keeping it 100, if he was being honest and truthful as a man of God, he would have said nothing. But his ego, his image won't allow him to do that. So instead of saying nothing, he says, I don't want to feel pressured. Right? He gives this vague response. But even in his vagueness, he puts it back on Paige. calling in, checking in, even once a day, feels pressuring to him. It feels forced. And check out the mental. She asked what he wants from Paige. He went straight to what he does not want. I just how many more ways can he say it? Viviana explains that what Paige has put forth is the least forced option she could have ever thought of. It is the most minimal effort she's ever seen someone require, and that if that is too much for Chris, he needs to be having another conversation. And he does. He said he wanted a divorce. Let's stop this farce. Go get your divorce, sir. Like, don't even wait on Paige. Because it's clear he's trying to push her, and she is just holding on for dear life. She's like the kid that is like being drugged, kicking and screaming, and he's like, you know, got one foot out the door. He's trying to drag the other one out the door, and she's holding on for dear life. I don't get it. Like, this level of pick me is epic. I never thought I would see someone on national TV display pick me effort like to this level. Y'all, I'm glad this ain't my sister or niece, because I would go crazy. Chris says that he has to be passionate about whatever he does, and he's just not passionate about this situation. Like, he keeps coming with the hits. Viviana tells him that he needs to change his thoughts and motivations. Y'all, I am really over these experts, Pastor Cal, Dr. Viviana, all these people trying to sell Chris on Paige. He is not here for it. And y'all should not be here for trying to force her down someone's throat. She shouldn't be here for it. Like, I don't understand anybody at this point. This is complete insanity. Paige tells the producers, the talking head, that she is frustrated. She has never had to convince or pressure someone to even call her. Paige, I think you might be lying to yourself, sis. I don't think this type of behavior develops overnight. I think you've done this before. I actually think this is why you are on this show. It wasn't working out in regular dating in your life. You wanted to be married so bad. So you got on the show because you thought if you're married, they would have to love you. They would have to honor their vows. Or some kind of way you could make them love you with your sex or with your body or something. I just want you to sign up for therapy, like right now, if you haven't already. Because this is painful to watch. Very. And I keep saying, I'm not going to let this bother me. But honestly, as a Black woman, it really hurts me to see another Black woman go through this level of desperation. It's painful to watch. I don't know how her family and friends are watching this, if they are. Production hasn't shown it. I don't know if she's reached out to any of them, the bridesmaids that were at the wedding. Like, why have we not seen any of these people? I know they didn't have the housewarming, but y'all could have shown her meeting up with a friend or a couple of friends to talk about what has happened. I need to know what her crew is telling her. Or is she keeping this all from them because she knows what they would tell her? And I honestly think she's keeping it from them. Because no group of friends, no mama, sister, auntie, cousin will be telling her to keep up with this. Like, this is just stupid. Anyway, however, she says she's never had to do it, but then she proceeds to try to convince Chris to do it. She's then trying to persuade him and cater to him by instead asking, if you can't do a call a day, what are you comfortable with? What? Like, you don't have any backbone at this point. He says he's comfortable with going out and hanging out and maybe having dinner here or there. Viviana points out that that's more than what Paige is asking for. Paige laughs and says, what are we doing? Well, Paige, no one knows what you're doing. No one knows. No one knows what you are doing. But I know what Chris is doing. I see you, Chris. Like I said, you need to teach classes, sir. You're not cool with calling once a day to check in with her, have a conversation, get to know each other, but you are cool with meeting up and hanging out, having dinner. Y'all know what that means. That means Netflix and chill. That's what he means. He is cool with meeting up because he wants to see her in person because he knows she is weak. Weak, honey. I don't know if it's the D, but something has her hooked. Like, she is stuck, sprung, whatever adjective you want to call her. That's what Paige is. And Chris knows this, so he wants a chance to see her in person because he knows all he has to do is say a couple words, sprinkle a little God here and there, and Paige gonna be willing to throw them draws at his face. Give it up real quick. He can't do that over the phone, so he wants to see her in person instead. Boy, bye. Like, this is trash. Anyway, Vincent and Brianna, we get into the couples playing games. Again, these question games where we get to know each other more. The question that they get is, what would they change about the other person? It was cute. Brianna says she would change the way that Vincent, he doesn't adjust the shower head for her once he gets out of the shower. He's taller than her, so when she goes to cut the shower on, it just all kind of comes down on her face, and it's awkward. Next, we see Jacob and Haley with their question. They get a question about improving their sex life, and well, we can't answer that question because there is no sex life. Brianna and Clara have a series of questions in the fishbowl. The first thing that they get asked was, what would be the thing that would make it harder for them to be intimate with each other? Ryan, as usual, stays on brand and he says trust. He needs trust, and if he doesn't have that, it's harder for him to be intimate. Clara just, again, tells us how sexually frustrated she is. They are still working at Ryan's pace, which means they have not done the do. The next question would be, how would Clara like Ryan to initiate romance? Clara says, just be like Nike. Just do it. Just do it. Go for it. Get on in there, champ. Ryan's just like, okay. The next question is how to make their sex life better. Clara, again, says, actually do it. That would make my sex life much better if we could actually go on and get it done. Ryan says trust and commitment would make the sex life better for him. Next, they ask, what is your favorite sexual position? Ryan is visibly very uncomfortable by this question. He giggles a lot. He doesn't really know what to say. Side note, I kept looking at him closely in this scene with the hair and the ears. Is it just me, or does he look like an elf? Like, for real, for real. Like, I had never seen that before, and it really stood out to me this time. Yeah, okay. Um, Ryan just says his favorite sex position is normal, whatever that is. And Claire asks what he would do if she wanted to do something wild, like a sex position that was a Russian twist or something like that. A crazy position. Ryan is just lost. Like, I don't even know what that would be like. The next question gets off of the sex thing, thankfully, and asks them what was the toughest experience they ever had to overcome in their life. Clara goes really deep here and talks about her prior relationship and ending that relationship. It was very tough for her, but she didn't realize her own strength. She was very unhappy in her last relationship, and that she had to get to a place where she got out. It was a bad breakup, and she struggled with being single again. She goes on to let us know in her confessional that she wasn't having sex in that relationship either. It was a 3 relationship, and in the last year of the relationship, they only had sex like 3 times. And that left her feeling very unwanted and disconnected. And so we see now how her past is triggering what's going on with Ryan. It's only been 3 weeks. However, Clara equates intimacy to sex, whereas it appears Ryan is more about developing intimacy through vulnerability and actually getting to know a person, creating a bond, and then having sex. For Clara, sex is the bond. And so although her and Ryan are gelling on other levels, she won't think the relationship is fully realized until they have sex. It's a lot, and we'll see more of it coming soon. Paige and Chris, get back to them. Jesus, they are meeting for whatever reason to create ways in which they can connect to discuss these things. Y'all, Chris yawns in the opening of this scene. Like, he keeps sending all of these cues that he does not want to be there. He is not interested. Paige continues to blame God for her lack of a spine. It's getting old at this point. She wants Chris to actively agree to step out of himself and develop that bond. Good luck with that, sis. Chris can't step out of nothing. Chris is all about Chris, and Chris some more. She is trying to plan a daily schedule of activities, because remember, Chris said he didn't want just a daily check-in. He wants to meet up. So she's trying to help them plan and coordinate a schedule of activities that they can do every day. Then Chris says, well, we can skip Sunday. Let's just plan something for Wednesday. Now, I thought the goal, she was writing down this whole chart, was a daily list of activities. So if we're going to skip Sunday, the next day will be Monday. No, he goes straight to Wednesday. So what are you going to do for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? So it's 3 days. So you really don't want to see her every day. You just, okay. I see you, Chris. Chris draws the line when she starts talking about activities that they can do just to get to know each other. She suggests, we can play some card games, get to know each other better. He says, no, I don't play with cards, no card games. I'm sure he's trying to tie that into some random religious reasoning. Okay. But instead, he would like them to do a Bible study. Yeah, Chris is a pro. Like, I don't know who taught him. Maybe it was his daddy. I don't know. But his manipulation tactics are super on par. Baby, Paige was just over there. She was a ball of silly putty. She just was all melted and moist. And, oh, he wants to do Bible study. Like, somebody, the man needs to lead classes. I'm telling you. This is a master class in manipulation. Jesus. Jacob and Haley meet with Dr. Viviana. She asks about the state of their marriage. They talk about the evolving arguments that they've had, but now they think they've on a good path and working on a reset. Viviana explains to Haley that communication is important. So texting more at this juncture is better than texting less. Like, let's not let things just linger and be lost out there. Be open with each other. It is essential in their marriage. Viviana asks if they have developed a non-romantic friend zone. Jacob says that he was initially connected, and she asks, was that right after you all had sex? And he says yes. I mean, Jacob admits that physical touch is very important for him to feel connected. Haley admits that she pulled back after the sex. She says that she saw more of his personality. She didn't like it, but she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. She starts getting choked up, almost cries. Viviana asks what it is about Jacob, and Haley admits that he's been trying. Everything that she's asked, he's done. However, she just doesn't connect with him. Viviana asks what everybody has been asking, is there a physical attraction there? Haley admits that she was middle of the road on their wedding day. She wasn't unattracted to him, but, she wasn't overexcited either. But that as time grew on, she became unattracted to the level of work that she felt she was putting in the marriage, and that Jacob was not meeting her. Viviana asks if they want to learn how to be in a marriage and how to develop a connection purposefully. Haley says that she is open to it. However, she admits to the confessional that if this were a regular relationship, she would be gone. Like, she would have already ran. Viviana asks them to do a little role play in the bedroom and gives them the task of sleeping in the bed together, because so far they've been sleeping in separate rooms, and then every night purposefully give a good night kiss, and every morning give a good morning kiss. That they should be nice to each other and behave as they would in a good marriage. Like, envision, act it out how you would like your marriage to be. It's interesting advice. I see what she's trying to do. I don't know if Haley's gonna follow through with it. Like, she just seems so open, as she admits he's doing everything. She's the one that still has her walls up like Fort Knox. Like, she's not letting them down, and she has to do better. She has to give some effort. Virginia and Erik meet with Viviana. Viviana, asks about their marriage. They both talk about how well connected they are. They love physical touch. It is both part of their primary love languages. They have great chemistry. But then they also admit that they are avoiding talking about the heavier issues in their marriage. So Viviana suggests that they confront an issue right now while she's there, so she can help them work through some of these conversations. Erik talks about how they have big philosophical differences. They have big differences in their personalities, in what their views are in relation to the country, United States, and the state of things in America. Erik says that he can meet in the middle and or agree to disagree, but that Virginia can't. These things are very important to her. She's very passionate about social issues, social justice issues, and that Erik's not. He's like, I'm passionate about the military and things that are important to me, but other things I'm just not concerned with. He admits that he's conservative and Virginia is very liberal. Erik says he's not trying to change her, but they're just both very passionate about their own positions. And Virginia wants him to be more passionate about social justice issues. He's just not there. Viviana encourages them to be more open to each other's point of view, that maybe they're trying to bring something into each other's lives that the other person needs. They need to expand their minds and their worldview. Erik shuts that down and says he believes what he believes and that's it. Now, Erik, I liked you, sir. And you do have a right to believe what you want to believe. But when you're in a marriage, and if you want this to work, you may have to open up a little bit. However, Virginia, if this is so important to you, this is one thing you need to really consider on decision day. Like I said, I don't know. I'm confused by some of these matches that were made. Just Virginia's overall party lifestyle and Erik's buttoned up, pilot career. I did not think they were a good match from the onset. It's great to have chemistry, but their issues are issues that will ultimately drive a disconnect and a divorce, which is what Virginia is desperately trying to avoid. But when you have such deep religious, philosophical, social, gaps, it's going to be hard to navigate. And my first thought was that this is going to be super problematic if they have kids. Like, it's nice for Erik to say, oh, we can agree to disagree. However, once children are involved, it becomes a completely different matter, because then you're going to be battling over how to raise your kids. So when they come back from commercial, Dr. Viviana addresses that and says, asks Erik, is this a situation where it's like you're going to present each position to your children and allow your children to develop their own beliefs? Or is it going to be a situation where you say, I'm not exposing my children to certain things. You can't teach my children XYZ. And if so, like, that's something that they need to discuss and talk about. Erik then, gets uncomfortable and says, well, I don't even know if she wants to have kids. So they get into a whole argument over, whether or not she wants to have kids and then the timeline for those kids. And Virginia admits that she traditionally didn't want kids, but she was always open to considering whatever her husband wanted. Erik doesn't like that answer. She also talks about how she's only 26. She didn't want to start having children if she had them until 30, which would make Erik 38. He then says he's not going to be 40 having kids, and if she doesn't want kids, then that's it. It's over. Like, there's ways you can say it. There's ways you can soften that blow and have that discussion of, hey, I really want children. That's a non-negotiable for me. But if you want children and you want this marriage to work, you're also going to have to look at your views on some things, especially if these views are very important to her. She has a sister that's in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. That's really important to her to know that her husband loves and accepts her sister. And so the underlying thought is, if you have these super conservative views, which generally don't lend themselves to the acceptance of alternative lifestyles, do you really accept my sister and my family? Or are you secretly judging them all the time? Like, those are the things that are unspoken. Next, we see Vincent and Brianna again. Vincent has set up a really cute, romantic, like, loft fort style date with a bunch of pillows and lights and stuff. They get to ask each other questions while being blindfolded, and then the right answer gets rewarded with food. It's very cute. They do a series of dares and questions. Brianna says that she loves that she can be herself with Vincent, be goofy and silly, and that she really trusts him. Vincent agrees and says that they were matched perfectly. It was really good to see him just embrace the moment, be silly with the cheese and the crackers and the whipped cream. And then they showered each other with kisses and affection. So I'm glad that we're getting some love out of some of these couples. Like, at least one. They're doing well. Clara and Ryan meet with Viviana. Clara wants to talk about their sex issues, of course. Viviana asks what is going well. So Ryan says that their connection is very natural. Clara, says that intercourse is missing, sex is missing. Ryan says he wants to build a foundation that is not based in physicality. He says it's only been 3 weeks and that he really wants them to have a solid foundation, that it's not just because the sex is good. I can't argue with that logic. I feel him. Like, this isn't a traditional marriage. He didn't know her for 3 years and then got married. He literally married a stranger. So he does not feel connected to her yet in that way. Viviana asked if they've gotten close to doing the do and then stopped. They both said yes. Clara says that Ryan is the one who stops. And he goes back to the foundation argument. So they both ask Ryan, like, what percentage, where are they, 1 to 10, where are we on the building foundation part? And he's like, well, I can't really put a number on it. That's arbitrary, blah, blah. I think he's being it's a little BS. Like, you have to know, I think we're almost solid. I need a little more, like, what this looks like. She needs to be able to gauge where you all are, because if you feel like we're still in the getting to know each other phase, we're still on part 2, of the building of the foundation series. He also says he doesn't want to feel pressured. Okay. Clara says that this is all very hard for her. Viviana then asks Ryan to leave so that she can talk to Clara on her own. Clara says she needs a physical connection and is confused because they do everything but intercourse. And that the everything else that they're doing is still considered sex as well. So she is heavily insinuating that they perform oral sex on each other, but that he stops short of actual penetration. Clara says that, sex is not super sacred to her. She doesn't put it on a pedestal at all. But for Ryan, it's on a very high pedestal. I had some friends in college that were virgins in terms of intercourse, but they had oral sex. I think it may be there are subsects of people, particularly in the Christian community, that I've heard of this thing called Christian sex, where they feel like you can do everything but penetration and still be in right standing with God or be considered a virgin for whatever purposes. I don't subscribe to that type of thinking, but because I do think oral sex is sex. But there are definitely people out there. I don't know how to read Ryan at this point. Viviana wonders if Ryan is a virgin and maybe just hasn't been truthful in his actual sexual experiences. Clara says she doesn't think so because he's usually truthful and he says he's had sex before. I kind of almost agree with Viviana just because he also says he's never said I love you to anyone. And if you've been in a relationship for years with someone and never said you love them, did you even have sex with them? Because usually, the I love you pops out at least during sex sometimes, especially if you've been there, in a relationship for multiple years. I don't understand. Viviana says tells Clara she needs to use her voice more and assert herself more and put Ryan at ease and let him know that, like, she's okay, she's ready, and express to him what sex means to her. Clara is less emotional about sex. She says that she's never experienced sex as sacred or emotional and that she doesn't know if she'll ever get there. She says she's not ashamed that sex isn't sacred to her. Viviana tells her that's a coping mechanism, and it is. If sex comes from someone that you love, it should be emotional and sacred to you. Clara says that she'll be sad, like, if she never feels that emotional connection because she feels like Ryan wants it so deeply. And she'll be sad if she cannot provide that to Ryan. I was really saddened by this because that was hard to hear. That Clara is desensitized to sex at this level. Like, it... Okay. Next, Haley and Jacob meet with Viviana again. Well, Haley does. Haley meets with Viviana on a one-on-one. Viviana asks, what progress they have made. Haley says that she's been talking to Jacob but still doesn't feel a connection. Viviana goes back to her questionnaire and reminds her that in one of her questionnaires, she admits to picking apart her prior partners and then feeling regret after she picked them apart and kind of threw them away. That it was a vicious cycle. She did it to everyone and vowed that she wouldn't do it with her next partner. And here she is. She admits that she's doing that to Jacob. He's trying and doing everything that she asks, but then she doubles back and says she wonders if he's attempting to change too much. What? Like, girl, make up your mind. The man is putting in effort. Just say you don't like him, Haley. Like, just end this. Why? I know they are in contracts, y'all, but you either have to actually try or don't. But putting it back on him is not cool. He's trying. Now, for you to say, oh, well, I wonder if he's going to change too much. Which one do you want? Anyway, Viviana rightfully tells her that only Jacob can determine if he's changing too much. That is a choice for him to make. But maybe if they both try to change, they will complement each other. So, Haley, that means you need to do a little changing too. It's not just Jacob. Next, we see Virginia and Erik. They have these conversations where they have to be vulnerable with each other. They have a 5-minute stopwatch. Each person gets to talk for 5 minutes. The other person can only listen. First, Erik talks about how cheating triggers him because in the past, he's always been cheated on in his romantic relationships. He's never been a cheater, but he's been cheated on repeatedly and he was left heartbroken several times. Virginia then talks about her childhood and how bitter her parents' divorce was. It was so bad that she cut her dad off, but then her mom moved and she reconciled with her dad because she wanted to feel close to one of her parents. This experience is what leads her to question having children. Erik then talks about his perfectionism and always wanting to be like his dad. He fell in a depressive state because he would put so much stress on himself to be perfect and so many expectations for him to live up to being a pilot like his dad and being married long term like his dad. All of these things have left him kind of where he is right now. These were very good conversations, very important, something that needed to happen a long time ago. And I'm glad that they are developing and exploring each other more. Next, we get back to Chris and Paige. They are finally meeting up for this date, child, this Bible study. I just want to note how shady production is right now. They played I'm Gonna Lay Down My Burdens. Y'all, I screamed inside. Lay down your burdens down by the riverside, honey. I ain't gonna study war no more. All right now. I wish Paige would lay Chris down by the riverside. Anyway, they greet each other with another church hug. Chris bought Harold's chicken. He wants to bring Chicago to ATL. He then, of course, goes on to quote the manipulator's #1 scripture on love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love keeps no record of wrongdoing. Yeah. Sickening. He asks Paige to pray over the food. He's such a traditional Christian man. Why does he never lead a prayer? Why does he never lead anything? Why is it all on her? Whatever Bible he's reading, it must be a new version that I never read. Anyway, he then asks her what they're going to talk about in Bible study. And she's like, what have you prepared? Per usual, he has nothing prepared. He is giving no effort. He wants nothing to do in this process. He wants her to do all of the work. I'm sure he's like that in the bedroom too. I bet your Paige just be throwing herself at him and getting on top and doing all the work and everything else. Oh, Jesus, child, this is horrible. He has nothing prepared for Bible study. And says that he fed her physically with the food, so he wants her to feed him spiritually. So irritated. She talks about she's been reading about friendship, commitment, and trust. They then go on to read Isaiah chapter 55. He gets on his phone again, but then he plays it off like he's looking up his Bible app to get the verses. You propose a Bible study and you don't even bring your real Bible to the Bible study, sir. So I know this Bible study is some BS. You was just over there trying to get in Paige draws again. He says that they entered into an agreement of selflessness where they are not going to put one need above the other, but they're not going to be blind if someone is selfish. Well, sir, you're the only person that's being selfish. So do you admit that you see that? You know that you're being selfish? She asks what friendship looks like. He says friendship looks like covenant and trust. She asks how friendship has been demonstrated and how they can improve it. She says she felt alone in everything that has occurred throughout their marriage so far, with the baby situation, that Chris never really sat down and fully discussed the situation and how he was feeling to her, and that she felt negligent, as if she were pushing Chris away. What type of brainwashing has this girl undergone? Like, this is tragic. He says that he appreciates her opening up and sharing that with him, and that he has something to share with her at this point. He goes into this whole convoluted story about Mercedes, who allegedly, the baby mama, alleged ex-fiance, and now alleged baby mama, who got into some mysterious car accident 6 years ago. 6 years ago, y'all. 6. And very traumatic accident. She almost didn't make it. And that since that accident, she has never owned a car since then. She has only been using rideshare to get around. Now, I don't know if y'all saw Mercedes a couple of episodes ago. It doesn't look like she doesn't drive to me. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm just saying, I don't think the girl takes Ubers everywhere for the last 6 years. Sue me. Chris wanted to make sure that she was comfortable since she's bringing his baby into the world, and she needs to get back to driving now that she's going to have a child. She got to take the child here and there, doctor's appointments, daycare, whatever. And so he brought her a brand new Mercedes Benz so that she will be comfortable driving by the time the child gets here. Had to sprinkle that in, huh? Had to say, oh, I bought her a Benz. Not just I got a car. I wanted to make sure she had reliable transportation. I got her a Benz. He then asked Paige how she feels about that as his wife. Oh, Lord. She says she understands the need for a car, but why a brand new car? She didn't even bring up the luxury part, a brand new car. He says, well, she's bringing my seed, my king or queen into this world. Why shouldn't she be in a chariot? If this don't make this girl leave, there's no hope. None. And I don't even blame Chris at this point. I blame Paige. It is what it is. Haley and Jacob, we see them getting settled with their nightly routine. They joke about the nightly kiss, put the dogs away. We do see that they are in the same bed together. Yay! Haley says she wants to keep trying. They talk about their sleep environments. Do you prefer it cold, hot, lights, no lights, TV, no TV? We find that they're compatible in this point because they both like it cold with no lights or TV on. Jacob asks about spooning or sexual caressing. Haley says, nope. Puts up that wall again. We're not there yet. I'm not ready for any of that. In fact, even though Viviana told them to do a goodnight kiss, she's not even ready for the goodnight kiss. She says, baby steps, we just got back in the same bed together. So instead of the nightly kiss, they do a little fist bump. Good night. Lastly, we see Virginia and Erik again. Virginia has set the mood with some rose petals on the bed. She has a little bootleg charcuterie board with chocolate and fruit and cheese. They talk about how good it's been that they've started opening up to each other and the importance of keeping things fresh because both are insecure from past traumas. Erik is insecure because he's been constantly cheated on, and Virginia is insecure because of her childhood trauma with her parents' divorce. Erik says, why me? That's an insecure question if I've ever heard it. And Virginia starts talking about how it's not realistic that Erik will keep up his current level of affection towards her, that she doesn't want to get too used to it because she knows the honeymoon phase will eventually run out. He won't be able to maintain that level of intensity. Erik gets kind of offended by that. And I think Virginia said it the wrong way, but she's telling the truth. They have to talk about how they will develop sustained romantic relations. It won't be this fire and passion and intensity all the time because life will happen. Depression may come in. Family issues and death may come in. So how do they navigate the ebbs and flows? That will be a good conversation to have later on. But in the meantime, Erik is like, I still got some passion right now, and kicks us and the producers with their cameras out of the bedroom so they can get to it, honey. That is the end of this episode, y'all. Sorry this went so long, but look, I had a lot to say. There was a lot going on. What do you all think? Is Paige crazy? Is Chris just a master manipulator? Is Haley full of crap? Is she ever going to open up to Jacob? Did Virginia need some therapy and a little rehab before she agreed to get married? Let me know your thoughts and comments on the show. Subscribe to the channel. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here next week so we can continue to watch this crap show called Married at First Sight. See you later, guys. Bye.